We lived in the trees. Why it looks melted, part 9. So another aspect I wanted to cover is the formations that the trees make themselves. So sometimes it looks melted. You know what I mean? It's like how it flows and all these kind of things and stuff. I see like this here, how it comes over. It kind of like it's flopping over like fleshy. You know what I mean? It's almost like a layer of fat, or something like that. It's kind of like overhanging and all these kind of things and stuff. Um, and when I was showing you Naga Cave, it added part which was like that. You could see like cliff wall, and then it had this overhang, and that was kind of supposed to be part of the snake, but it went back too far. You know what I mean? So it I'm saying it was potentially a tree because you do get this kind of how this happens and stuff like. And also the snake skin texture that matched up with that tree, the one with the motile sperm. So then that means that Naga Cave were potentially a tree rather than a snake, or at least most of it. There might have been a petrified snake. I'm not against like the idea of giant snakes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we've got some big ones today, haven't we? So, but it depends if there's more things to scrutinise on that as well. But like I say, we're seeing this kind of melted kind of look that we're getting with it all and stuff. It looks like a river, doesn't it, in a way? And amongst other textures, you see all the layers that are there and all that kind of stuff. Of this ribbon kind of waves pattern, amongst other things. Oh, it looks normal here, and then it looks like this here kind of thing. And you can see them coming out there. I've got another one here. It's all these lines and stuff like how they kind of look like the melted building kind of idea, especially in like like all the floors have sunk together and stuff like that kind of thing because it's melted. Well, you're getting this pattern in the trees, so to say that it's giant trees rather than melted buildings is it's got more of a bias for it amongst all the other textures. You know what I mean? Look at that for melted as well, because it's kind of got a bit of a movement to it and stuff. So there's a lot of cliff sides that look like that. It's got like sections and stuff. All this area. And again, like that coming over the top of it. Coming over the top like it's a river, because that's what it looks like. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's not, because it's grown with it, and this is gonna like split out and separate, and you can see parts of it all where it's gonna separate it, or however it's gone. But it pushes against itself, doesn't it? You can see that line. You know what I mean? It kind of goes in with that and stuff like so. Like I said before, like very fleshy and how it moves and stuff, kind of thing, how it grows. As you got another one here. So it looks like it's come down like that, doesn't it? But you get, well, like with melted buildings and stuff like that. Well, it's not melted, is it? You know what I mean? It's how it's grown and stuff. So, and it's also like I was speaking before about how would potentially get the stability for the wider base. It might have been more of a more ideal, you know what I mean, for creating more structure and stuff. I mean, the wood's got to be strong enough, hasn't it, to hold itself. But in terms of balance, wind, all these kind of things, um, and the structure of the ground underneath. It's like, in the early stages and stuff like that kind of thing. It had to find its structure. Yeah, there had to be enough debris underneath for the structure to exist and stuff like. So a wider base might have been a much more common thing, which I don't know, there's more to cover on that as well. Like, again, for your melted, you see it all, again, if it's like bricks, or because we do look brick like, it's still blurry, but like the missing ones or windows or all that kind of stuff. I know it's slumped. You got all this stuff which is very different, I think it's like Berlin, where it's kind of like it's pushed out, so you can't see your pattern anymore. You see it down here. That looks like a burl, but that just looks broken. But that looks like that looks like an advanced version of that. If that were to burl more, it'd look more like this. Again, for like melted buildings, like layers of floors. It's like, look like individual bricks for each one and stuff, but I think all them. I showed you that reflection video with the barbed wire going through it. Now the tree it's met up to, well, it's against the barbed wire and it's kind of grown, and then the barbed wire's kind of stayed there kind of thing, so it's kind of like water going around it, like our body will heal a scar around something, like a wedding ring or whatever and stuff, and how it kind of like sticks, it kind of, the skin grows over it and stuff. Again, giving that melted kind of look to it. Another one of those. It's lava. You gotta think like what would geologists say is when you're looking at an actual tree and it's a tree and stuff like. But we do have examples of lava and stuff, don't we? Like petrified or solidified and stuff. Let's see this one here. It's growing over it. Again, looks melted. These ones. Oh, nice. Angkor Wat. So we're all familiar with them, aren't we? There's loads of pictures of trees that have this like waterfall or melting kind of look to them and stuff. So I didn't take too many because, we are familiar in that kind of sense. Again here, you see all this? Your line's that way, and then your line's going other way. Remember on fish, what we're talking about on reflections videos? So you've got the ocean waves going in two different directions as a reflection and stuff like. But it also looks melted, doesn't it? It also looks weathered, like if sandstone had been weathered and all these kind of things. And then all this even looks like ocean waves like splashing towards you. Also the melted aspect, but even saying describing it to be like liquid is giving that melted aspect as well, which is a lot to do with how the trees are actually formed and stuff, which I've shown in relevant reflection videos and stuff. So, but yeah, look how far it goes. How it's like just one piece and stuff like that kind of thing. And you compare it to his landscape and stuff. I mentioned it before about how it could grow for like the entire continent, and then like burls would pop up, and then branches would prop up off there, and they'd turn into like fallen trees and stuff like. Um, but that's it's quite widespread. You know what I mean? I imagine gaps between or whatever and stuff like. Um, but um, but Angmanson mentioned it as well. All the how it comes out and all that kind of stuff like. So he's got evidence, and how it, where you can see it coming out and becoming flat and stuff like, which is really cool and stuff like. So whether he's already got that on his content or not, you know what I mean, and stuff like. But yeah, look at this one. See how like it looks like it's pouring out. Again, I'm not sure if it's like been weathered or whatever and stuff like, but the rocks weather, you know what I mean, and all this kind of stuff like. So like, after it's been petrified and all these kind of things and stuff like, we have got that as an example and stuff, haven't we? It's got loads of holes in it. One thing that I consider is like like giant woodworm and stuff like that, but we haven't got like the case for it, have we? It's more melted trees. Not really melted, obviously, but how it's grown, how it does this, mimicking the water, you know what I mean, and stuff like. Is it even this like the burn aspect? Because it doesn't have to be burnt in many respects and stuff like. There are some cases where I've shown and it kind of it seemed more appropriate, like the jagged edges at the top and stuff like kind of thing, like being the remains and stuff like from the fire and stuff. But with this, you can see there's no fire, but you've got like the it's split away. You know what I mean? So you've got like an area which is where the bark isn't there and stuff like. So sometimes you've got layers of bark which covers like the hillside, but sometimes it looks like it's literally like a layer of ash, which is like solidified and stuff, become compacted down. So it must have been a lot higher, like when it was soft or whatever. The weights come onto it and stuff, and then it's formed out like a hard layer. Anything weak at top or whatever and stuff has been like washed off and stuff. Which with looks of things and stuff like. But with an example with bark, you can still get it like that. But yeah, especially for melted side of things. That's how it drops down. You get it there as well. Again, yeah, so those trunks look like it kind of thing. It might be the same tree as the other one, but like a different angle. You got these type of trees. It's very melty. All examples of like what the giant trees could have been like and stuff. And you got these. These are in Florida, and they were like them caves, not them caves. Those buildings. People have like lived in them and it looked like they were buried in ash, and so they had like a mushroom kind of roof to them and stuff like. Some of these have got like a more of a mushroomy kind of head to each tower and stuff like, and also they connect to this, which is like all just a bigger one of these, but it's like that same kind of shape and texture roof almost. So it's got lines on it. The other one looks soft. I kind of think the other one potentially is like a layer of ash over the top of it and stuff. And it's where the water level were. So I'll have to go back to that picture. Ones like these, So saying that that'd be the ash, which was settled on the burning remains or whatever and stuff like, and then it's like the water level has come and washed away any ash or whatever and stuff like that, and that's why it's gonna peak at that level and stuff like. Um, depending on which ones we're looking at. I see these look different. It's got a different shape to like the top of it and stuff like. We can still go for the burning down. It's different to be, the different patterns to like those mushroom ones and stuff. So you see at the top, it's all that dark. It's like the water level potentially up to there, and so that's like left all the staining and stuff. But it looks good for rooms and it's got like loads of details and stuff like. So you got them. This is a good example. You see them there, you see it here, you see them separate, and then they all become like part of this mountain. Then you had your other ones like this. You see all your separate ones. With this one tree are like loads forming one tree. Loads of different trunks for the same tree. Some trees only have one trunk, don't they? But many of them have many trunks. Like a lot of these, like the clusters of all the trunks and stuff. Some of them, sometimes they get too close to each other, you know what I mean? And then all the debris, the ash waste and branches and whatever else and stuff like is going to fill it all up. Going back to this, you see it in a sense. Of them dwellings. Some of them would be like next to the bigger pile. So you can see it in the same way, And sometimes these are kind of like taking different. Remember the one that I said were different? It's not like that dwelling kind of sense. It's kind of more misshapen and all these kind of things and stuff like. So you get a lot of them like that. But out in wild, South Florida, we get these plants like this, and it's just how they grow. If this is the same thing, you know what I mean? You see on the tree, a geologist, if this were petrified, so that water's made these patterns and formations. You know what I mean? But we know it's a tree, so we can say that, well, you can't say that now, can you? You know what I mean? For what this is, you know what I mean? And, well, I'd say it's obviously it's a tree, you know what I mean? Because it is a tree and stuff like that. But like I said, if it were petrified and it were like 10 times bigger, there might be some dispute over it and stuff. And then you got all the other ones, which are doing the same thing and stuff like. And the water line, so you can tell where floods were, all that kind of stuff. And the abundance of them in the background. And see how we all got all them, you know what I mean? It's like the part of that tree, aren't there? So it's like all one or whatever and stuff like. shape of that one and that one. And then all this, it's quite different, isn't it? You see a bulb like sprouting up in a sense. It looks like Berlin, you know what I mean? But then it becomes tower-like. So some of the petrified trees might be, you know, not destroyed, just petrified. And again, in terms of like melted buildings, it's sort of like castle-like, you know, with all these down. Well, all this here because it looks like it's like towers with towers coming off them, you know, like spires and stuff. These are more smooth and stuff like. Another thing is the leafless. You know what I mean? We're not like branching out with leaves everywhere and all these kind of things. The bald cypress tree. So as another concept of how the giant trees may have grown and stuff like, without branches and leaves. I see like in Arizona you got some places like, you see the lines, they zoom in. It's not doing it. It's a web file so it won't do it. It won't zoom. So again, you can imagine like them locations in Arizona. I mean, I considered it to be fungus at times, didn't I? On the older videos and stuff. They catch water because it kind of pools, and you can see all rings up wood and stuff like that kind of thing. Geologists say it's water that formed it, but the lines can curve. You know what I mean? So it's it contradicts their argument, like. But if that Berlin, because you know, depends on how tall they grow and stuff like that kind of thing. But to grow as tall as that in scale, then you know it's another example, isn't it? But the burnt out tree which has been weathered, and how like rock like it looks. With layers and stuff like that kind of thing. So it's broke there, so you can see like more yellow and stuff like. It's not really picking up on my phone screen because it's gonna, my phone screen's a bit funny, but it should upload all right and stuff like. You can see it all, like, you know, there's that little chopped out bit, and then there's like a line that goes on the next piece, which kind of goes along up there and stuff. And it looks like that soft sandstone kind of look to it, you know what I mean? But it's, but it's still wood, you know what I mean, and stuff like. Even green areas of wood kind of look stone-like and stuff. Part rotting, so you've got all your stuff which is kind of like just falling away. And not that looks melted or out and stuff like, but relating the trees to the rock and stuff like. Which again, that's, you know, Angman's stuff in it and that, but here, once again, you got your river like look to it. It kind of flows down and stuff like that kind of thing. It's a burnt out trunk, so most of it's missing. You can see all, it looks like inside of a crater. All that kind of stuff like, which I spoke about craters in another one as well, didn't we? But again, in that consideration for like, you know, you could say, oh, it's been melted, but we know what's happened to it, you know what I mean? That burning is almost like melting, you know what I mean, as it slowly disintegrates from the top down in that kind of sense and stuff like. But or whichever way it's going, but on a fire. So, um, I see like that little curl or fold, you know what I mean? But that's natural, that's how it grew, you know what I mean? So that was there before even fire existed and stuff like that. But more of these kind of things and stuff like it's difficult to tell what's going on. It looks like it's like that looks like a bill, but it looks like it's got like loads of like you can see the individual membranes of like the bill, you know what I mean? Like ear and ear. Is that like basically part of a bill, but you can see it more in an exposed way? I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Like, but you can tell that's a bill. It must be. There's no other suggestion of what it could be. That's its hormone. Maybe the gene which would kick it off into its gigantism and stuff like. But again, for like melted buildings, you know, we're finding these shapes and stuff like. I can admit that they are buildings, you know what I mean, because people will have lived in those trees. And another thing to point out is you can still carve into rock, can't you? You know what I mean? So they don't always have to be like the evidence of what we've got and stuff like that kind of thing for where people dwelled and stuff like. It could have been since all the petrification. It could have been since all the petrification. So then, you know, when they've dug into it whilst it's been petrified and stuff. But like I mentioned with them dwarf mines, the video of that, it describes it to say it looks like it's got axe cut markings within one of the rooms and stuff like. I think it was a fire room and stuff like that, so it weren't designed to be aesthetic and stuff like. But so they were assuming it was soft at the time, you know. So like, you know, it weren't hard, and it weren't assumed to be a tree either. That was just like, you know, the geology way of looking at it, the mainstream geology way of looking at it, because geology is changing now, I think, with all this. Yeah, anyway, it's the old burnt wood here in a giant redwood. So you got loads. I think it probably had a hollowness to it anyway. And you got all this is burnt and stuff like. You got all your pattern under. If you can see it and stuff like. It's got loads of algae on it as well, so not algae, moss. So like in background as well, kind of thing. All there. Because it looks like buildings in a way, but then all this kind of stuff looks melted. So you get your buildings and your melted area. So we're both going to suit like the narrative, you know what I mean, of what a meltologist are talking about. I mean, it's still of great grandeur, like the immensity of the trees and all these kind of things. It's like this bit here. It looks like a stalactite. More of these. And they're like bunched up. And they're like the connected tree. And so we've got loads of rock formations which kind of stand up like that, and then suddenly become part of a taller area which is just flattened off. You know what I mean? It's gonna, you know, anything that gets washed away leaves these stood out. So the soft rock is the stuff that's in between the petrified stuff. And so, you know what I mean, in that kind of sense. Another example of it. You can see them all like almost forming in that kind of sense and stuff like we're all gonna split out of it. It's like, you know, it's its own thing. We just all grew up like that kind of thing. Like that one's connected to it as well. You see that one behind? And we're all like massive base for it. And it's just got loads of separate ones. And it's also got its cracks. It looks like it's been burnt, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, maybe water can cause that as well, kind of thing. Like, looking melted, you know, liquidy and stuff like. And that one, like we said with barbed wire, getting stuck into the tree and stuff, and the tree's just flowing over it, and so it looks like it's melting over it and stuff like. It's just like in a, you know, the last example I'm giving at the moment and stuff like. Until next video, I've got like, you know, more to do on this and stuff like. Continuing the last video for one thing, and then I'll be working on the next series and stuff like, which I've been wanting to do for a while. I've got a few to do, so I'll try and get on with them. But yeah, nice one. Cheers, everyone. I'll catch you in a bit. Cheers.